G'day there folks, I'm Beanie, you're watching Beanie Draws, and I'm about to start part 2 of this T-Rex versus Indominus Rex cartoon. But before I do that, I actually want to make the mouth wider on the T-Rex. So what I'm just going to do, I'm going to follow these lines I drew previously and just make the mouth a little wider and a little bit more ferocious. So I'm just going to erase what I've done here. Luckily, because it's pencil, it's not a huge change. Just gonna erase around the lower jaw as well. Just want the mouth to be far wider and far more roaring. So it looks like he's really sort of, or she's looking like she's really, you know, menacing and threatening and like, don't mess with me, buddy. So I'm just gonna draw those teeth in. Like I said, not a huge change, but one that I think is kind of, you know, it'll make the image look cooler in the end. I'm also going to draw a little, maybe I'll draw blue in next rather than Indominus Rex just for now. Just going to finish drawing in the chin. And a wider mouth. I think that's cool, and I'm just going to draw in these little scales underneath the mouth and just some little lines there. Not too bad. I think the tongue's a little bit too high up now, but we can deal with that for now. Now, I was going to draw Indominus Rex right away, but I think what I'll do is I'll draw a little blue in there. Yeah. So a human would be about, I don't know, that high, I guess, or that high. So I might make blue about this high. So I'm just going to put in the head. Not gonna be a huge amount of detail. Again, it's just going to be a cartoon, so I'm just going to put in a little bit of a blobby shape for the body. Just sort of deciding how I'm going to do this as I go along. Actually, I'm going to erase that. I think I'll draw the body like that. A little tail like that. Going to draw the head kind of like facing us a little bit, but facing this way, but that way. And then I'm going to draw in some shoulder circles. I'm going to draw in some big shapes for the hands. And I'll draw some like claw shape, some shoulders and arms. And I'll do a little bit of a shoulder there, forearms and shapes. And then I'm going to put in some like, maybe I'll put in some stretched out hands like going rawr. So I might change the shape of that hand a little bit, and I'll have the fingers coming out like this maybe. So I'm just drawing little stick figures at the moment just to kind of get the vibe a bit. Gonna put in the stomach there. Might make the head a little bit smaller, bring the head down a bit, bring the back down a bit too. I'm going to draw some little shapes there for the eyebrows. There's not a huge amount of detail I can fit in this anyway. I'm going to put in the leg and another leg here. I'm going to do what I did here and make the bottom of the feet much bigger than the body. So I'm going to put in 2 feet there. So we've got like, you know, the little circle joints for the ankle, and then just make like sort of a triangle of sorts. Then I'm going to put in the claws. and another claw. Then I'm going to do what I did here by adding some, like, you know, a bit of a line there. Velociraptors only have 2 toes, so do it like that. I mean, realistically, if this was a real raptor, it'd be like, you know, probably about the size of T-Rex's toenail, but that's okay. And then I'm going to put in a big claw about there, and the padding for the claw that connects to the ankle, and then kind of doing the same here, just a bit of a claw for the toe, a claw there, and then a claw there, and a bit of a split between the toes, so kind of like that. If you can kind of see that. And then just fixing up the ankle, bringing up the thigh. Gonna make the tail come up. Not a hugely long tail though. And gonna draw in the little line for Blue's shape along the stripe along her back. And the stomach. The back. Gonna draw that line along her back. Find the elbow bit and draw a sort of a shape, a circular line for one side of the shoulder and the other side of the shoulder. And around here is where it gets very tight and tricky, so I'm not really going to teach too much because you're probably not really going to see much of it, to be honest. So I'm going to just draw in these claws. Another claw and little tiny fingers, because this is very tiny detail. And then some claws here. Another claw there. A claw there. And then a little bit of a wrist thing going on out there. Like, you can't really see much of the detail, so I'm just drawing the little lines. It's just about little lines. I'm not doing huge detail there. I might do cartoon Velociraptor Blue down the track. How am I going to draw the head? Might make her head with, like, her, kind of like T-Rex. Her mouth is open. So I'm going to give her, like I did with the lower jaw, but echoing it or mirroring it on the top part. So I'm going to give her a narrow snout, a narrow, you know, nose, and bring it wider towards the jaw. And much the same like the bottom part. A very narrow chin that connects to the wider jaw. Can draw some wide membrane there. And some teeth. So we're going to draw some teeth along her mouth. They're very, very tiny, so you're not going to really see much of them. Just little spiky things. I'll probably put more detail in this later on, maybe in I might go over in fine liner, see how I'm feeling. But just gonna give her some eyebrow lumps, not too much detail because, you know, very small. And give her a snout ridge, and then a nose. Maybe a little hole there for her snout, but again, not a huge amount of detail. Big eye though, we'll give her a big eye. And a big pupil. And then the back of her head, and some lines for her blue part. And then just refine that, maybe fix up her body maybe a little bit of a neck. And maybe a tongue, a little bit of a sticky flick of a tongue. And like so. I'll probably put a little bit more detail in it with ink later on, but it's quite small scale, as you can see, compared to my hand. So drawing her It's a little bit tricky, but I just thought I'd put her in there just for a bit of fun. And hey, a quick 11-minute video, that's not too bad. But the next part, I'm going to draw Indominus Rex. And hopefully I can fit her in this spot here. So stay tuned for that. But if you liked that little part of blue and Rexy's mouth, give this video a thumbs up if you want to. Otherwise, I will catch you in the next video. Cheerio for now.